SC Media is proud to present this month's CISO Stories program, hosted by yours truly, Jessica Hoffman. This is a show where CISOs share tales from the trenches and unpack leadership lessons learned along the way. Listen to previous CISO Stories podcast episodes at CISOstoriespodcast.com. Are you a cyber professional who enjoys writing policy documents or building checklists or creating documents from scratch? Do you have endless amounts of time and money to focus on developing tools and templates, or would you rather do the work of protecting your organization? The Cyber Risk Collaborative has developed new resource toolkits, which are CISO developed and topic curated guidance, tools, and templates to save your team tens of thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours of work. Visit CISOstoriespodcast.com/CRC to sign up for the community and get your toolkits. Greetings, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of CISO Stories Podcast. You got me, Jess Hoffman, your host. Super excited to have Rock Lambros with us. Heard a lot about you, Rock. Thanks so much for joining. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Coming all the way from Denver. I'd complain about my weather, but we already said you got hit with like 6 inches. That's crazy. I mean, normal day for you? What?
Well, my weather app failed me. I washed my truck the day before, so I wasn't too thrilled yesterday.
Well, at least they work. I mean, here if it's frozen, you can't even wash your car. Forget about it.
Yeah.
Look at you, bougie. That's what rich people do. They wash their car in the winter.
No, mine was pretty 3-4 snowstorms in. You need to get the salt off.
Right. I'm just teasing. This month we're talking about AI governance, which is obviously a super important topic. I know myself at the city, even though government tends to move a little slower than private industries, certainly AI is a huge topic, and how can we use it responsibly? What's the foremost topic this week is DeepSeek. I know we talked a little bit about that and having your thoughts on it. I personally know a couple people that ran to download it, some that probably shouldn't have. I'm not going to call them out, but certainly it is something brand new, put out by the Republic of China. Clearly, they're going to be, have visibility into our data, and they're definitely not held by any of our government requirements, laws here in the United States. So it's not like we can sue China. I don't think that would even work out either. So just what are your thoughts on it, man, and the research you've been doing?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, right? It's a buyer beware, right? What we've seen throughout the week is a lot of the claims that it had made early on have been kind of turned on their head. But yeah, I mean, just look at least, the information is out there for everybody to see. Nobody ever reads terms of services or privacy policies. They really need to, with regards to DeepSeek. It is abundantly clear where your data is being stored, the type of data that they're collecting on you, including other activities such as payment information, keystroke pattern activities, right? So it's all this ancillary data that it's collecting on you that could potentially be used for what, and training the model for what, we don't know. And the argument is, well, so does OpenAI, so does Gemini, so does whatever. But it's like, I'm not trying to sound ethnocentric or anything like that, but we have a history with the People's Republic of China. We know that the U.S. innovates, the EU regulates, and China replicates. We know that there's a history of them leveraging personal information to breach organizations for corporate espionage, right? So the history is there. And, some of the performance improvements, breakthroughs through DeepSeek that in the research report that they released late last week, I mean, some of them could be truly revolutionary, but now it's public, it's out there. And so, OpenAI and Anthropic and Google can absolutely start integrating that into their models as well, right? So I don't think it's the end of the world. I think the market had a knee-jerk reaction. And, I would just say buyer beware. I think the safest way, if you want to play around with DeepSeek, would be download it locally in a very sandbox environment, run it with an Olama or something, and just make sure everything is contained, right? So, um,
So
and
not like your corporate issued laptop or,
it, it,
something
it,
that you're using for all your banking and financial and you're gonna
exactly.
file your taxes from kinda thing.
Exactly. My first initial gut reaction when it came out was like, well, this is TikTok 2.0, right? How do we not get in front of this? And then I remember, like you said, it was government. They don't exactly move at really fast pace, and but I think we'll start seeing some action there.
Yeah, and we talked about it and you touched on it just from a privacy perspective, like, we don't really understand fully what that tool is getting access to when we're using it. So we talked about kinda like, there is that option for SSO, which are Google as well, which I
Right.
personally am like anti SSO. It's the devil. I don't ever use it. Just even though they say, "Oh, it's not clear text passwords anymore," blah 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 blah.
But look at the permissions you're giving up when you do connect your Google account, or
Yeah,
whatever, right?
yeah,
That's the context that people don't understand. SSO within an organizational context, yeah, it makes provisioning, deprovisioning a hell of a
right.
lot easier, right? But do you want DeepSeek having access to all your Google information? Probably not, or any other AI platform for that matter.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, so just kinda, like, piggybacking off that from a regulatory perspective, you mentioned that, well, you didn't go into detail, but EU has their, some AI regulatory guidance that's out there. We have some here in the States. I'm a big fan of NIST, so the
Yeah.
AI RMF. You're working with OWASP, right? The
Yep.
Top 10 for AI. You're on one of the committees to develop that, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm on a few committees, right? So I'm on the OWASP Top 10 for LLMs working group, the OWASP Agentic AI Security Working Group, the OWASP AI Exchange, and now we just launched the OWASP AI Maturity Model Group. So yeah, I've been neck deep in this AI thing for a while, right? I'm a huge proponent of it, but I don't think we can just jump into it blindly either, right? I think it's really, really important that we wrap our arms around it, balance innovation with risk. Innovation will always win, right? Like, let's not kid ourselves. Just like, in our traditional cybersecurity spaces, we always say the business will always win. It's the same thing, right? So, how do we put the proper guardrails around it to make sure that we literally don't drive the car off the cliff?
What do you think about, Microsoft renaming their app to Copilot? And they're just constantly pushing out all these, AI bonuses into our Microsoft suite without even telling us.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft's not the only one, right? Like, Adobe turned on AI capabilities within Acrobat one day. Slack all
Mhm.
of a sudden was using AI. LinkedIn's getting sued about turning on their AI and not notifying individuals, right? And I think that's frankly just kind of the world that we're going to be living in right now. Right? AI is almost, we're getting to the point where AI is going to be almost as ubiquitous as, um, I don't know, the search function within an
Absolutely.
application, right? Like, we would just expect it to be there as default.
Mhm. And I'm not opposed to it, but you just that it's just all coming very, very fast,
Yeah.
right? So when we're talking about from a governance perspective and all your wisdom and experience on those committees that you mentioned, which is very, very cool. I love OWASP, the top 10 for LLMs and just OWASP period. Fantastic, wealth of information community partner. So, taking that in consideration, how Microsoft's pushing it out, Google with the Gemini, Adobe, that one threw me for a loop. I'm like, what? Wait, huh? Just show me my PDF, okay? I don't need
Yeah.
anything extra
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think, or what is your thoughts on like how to really get a good idea of the governance behind all that? Should we be asking these things, doing our own research, especially when we're getting maybe new contracts, with vendors, third party vendors, and we know that they've been using AI and machine language, in the back end for years,
Yeah.
but just really, it's really in our face now. So, from a governance perspective, what should we be looking for, or asking?
Well, first of all, I think, even take a step before that and just define your objectives with AI. Like, what are the appropriate use cases for AI within your organization? I'm still seeing way too much AI, all the things, right? And that's not a strategy, right? Because you can't hope to 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 have successful AI rollouts without proper business alignment, right? So there's a Harvard Business Review article that says 80% of AI deployments fail, largely along those lines, right? Like not strong business alignment. The data is crap. Goes back to our data governance issues, and not cross functional collaboration across teams. So everybody's kind of working in a silo. So now that you've done that, all right, we use Copilot. Great. We want to use Copilot. We want to use Copilot in GitHub. Great. Now let's start understanding, well, are there IP ramifications? Who owns the code that's generated? DeepSeek is pretty clear they own everything, right? If going back to the DeepSeek conversation, it's explicitly listed out. Code generation, right? Anything it generates, it owns from an IP perspective. And then from a like contractual requirements perspective, if you're leveraging, third party AIs, how are they handling the data? How are they retaining the data? Where are they retaining the data? Where are conflicts mediated? How are they testing their models? How are they testing their models for accuracy, for bias, right? All those types of things. There's a whole slew of additional things that we need to consider in our traditional third-party risk management programs in AI that we, as a CISO community or security community, have really never considered before.
So is there at this point, and I feel like it is still super, super new as far as like frameworks and guidance, but if you were to give some advice when procuring a tool that's AI generated and great tool, use case matches, we did all of that. Is there like a particular framework that we would require, like kind of how government requires you to follow 853 or 115 for pen testing or the continuous monitoring? How we love to call out those publications, right?
Yeah.
Or OWASP. So is there something for AI that we should be requiring, or could we just say as long as you're following some kind of framework that you can show evidence of?
Yeah, I mean, ISO 42001 is the AI management system framework, right? So it's the equivalent of 27001 on the information security side. That's a great framework to follow. If you're an AI developer, I'm seeing more and more starting to go after that certification now as well. So that has more to do with the management system. In the US, we have that, and we have the NIST AI risk management framework, right? In the EU, right, the EU AI Act is being rolled out in stages, and it's going to quickly become law. And that's part of what we're working on with the OWASP AI exchange. Is like, all right, so how do we actually operationalize that, right? So, just if you take a look at the controls in those frameworks, right, in the NIST AI RMF, in the ISO 42001, ask those questions of your AI vendors, right? Or I know Claude and OpenAI have published their system cards, right? Like compare it against their system cards, see what they're doing against each of those controls. And the reality is on the big boys, you're not going to have any leverage to say, change this, change that. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? But then at least you understand the risk and can make a risk-based decision on how you use the tool.
That's like my favorite word or hyphenated word, risk-based decision.
Yeah.
And that's why that's where I think we're at too, right? We should definitely say, what are you doing? Not necessarily because we have any power to make changes, but then we can understand what it is that we're accepting, what we're getting into with the vendor, what we can expect, and then just continue that dialogue. I think it's super exciting. Like, I'm really excited. Like, I'm walking around pretty much every day, like, how can we use AI to enhance the service, to enhance the productivity, to enhance the efficiencies, because the use cases are pretty much endless.
Yeah.
And when I talk to my students, and I did steal this, but I'd like to say, AI isn't taking our jobs. They're taking the jobs of people that aren't using AI.
Yes.
If you agree with that, right? We need to adjust. We need to, get hip with the times, whatever. So I'd love to see this. And, talking to you, might be one of my new favorite people.
Thank you.
Because I want to know all the things that you're doing. Well, let's come back to you mentioned earlier about DeepSeek versus like OpenAI or some of the other large language models or that are available for free, which never's free, right? No, but such thing as a free lunch, or affordable to us
Yeah.
peasant folks. So, I'm of the mind, well, China, probably a risk-based decision. Yeah, I don't really want to give China all my data and all the access and all those things.
Yeah.
But like I feel like OpenAI, Meta, Google, they're taking it too. I mean, let's be honest, they're not innocent in all this and
Yeah.
by the book, we're still signing over in blood to them too. So I guess I did read about like some people are saying, well, I'd rather have a Western company than a nation state coming at us. So, I mean, is that kind of your thought too? I mean, it's going to happen when we're working with, using ChatGPT too, but at least we're more governed being it's an American company.
Yeah. I mean, think of it this way, right? I mean, if if you notice cookies missing from the cookie jar, and your kid says no, they didn't take any cookies from the cookie jar, but they have a history, a very strong defined history of taking cookies from the cookie jar, even though your child may be innocent in that specific instance, you're probably not going to believe that they didn't take the cookie out of the cookie jar, right? And I think that's where we're at with DeepSeek. Not to mention all the red teaming reports that have been dropping this week, saying aside from the data sovereignty and the jurisdiction of the law and all that kind of stuff issues, the actual AppSec within the model is pretty terrible. And now we started seeing how if you start asking DeepSeek sensitive questions like around Tiananmen Square, right, or the Mao Dynasty or whatever, it almost you can see it kind of start auto correcting itself, and eventually get to the decision of essentially, oh, I'm sorry, I can't display that or whatever. So is it the most? Are you going to trust a lot of the output coming out of it? I wouldn't. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to tell you my opinion and what I would and wouldn't do, and I wouldn't.
So how do you, well, I mean, TikTok, you mentioned it, TikTok 2.0. So uh, what were the similarities there that you coined it that?
Well, again, and full disclosure, I'm on TikTok, right? So started out as spying on my niece, not spying, but keeping track of her.
That's right.
And I've been putting videos up there. Again, for me personally, that was a risk-based decision in the sense of China's already got my data. I was wrapped up in the Office of Personnel Management breach way back in the early
That was a while ago.
2010s, right?
Yeah, I remember.
So do I care that they're maybe collecting some tracking habits off my phone and what I'm looking at on TikTok? No, right? So that's a personal decision for me, right? But the similarities there are again the ties back to the Chinese Communist Party and the People's Republic of China, right? At least DeepSeek is blatant about it. TikTok, if you ever saw one of the data flow maps, I mean, it is absolutely obfuscated, security by obscurity type of thing about how the data gets back to the PRC via ByteDance. But that's what I'm saying. So now, while TikTok being a user kind of consumer level type of application, DeepSeek's gonna, enterprises are looking into how to, I could do AI potentially faster, cheaper, based on the early claims. Yeah, let's go look at this. And now, again, we've got a nation state who has had their hands caught in the cookie jar many, many, many times throughout the past. And now you're essentially handing over all your corporate data to them, like willingly.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. China already has my data. I mean,
Yeah.
we've made a risk-based decision by putting our lives out there, our branding of our careers, right? Our
Yeah.
thoughts, our publications, our face. I mean, if somebody want to do some deep fakes or find me, it's not very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the same for you.
Oh yeah. If you do a deep fake of me, can you at least like take some of the gray and the wrinkles out, please?
Do you want
Just
some hair too?
no, 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 no.
No, okay.
I'm very confident in my baldness.
It's great. I love it. Very hot. Keep the bald.
Thanks.
The beard's good too. Gray's in. Don't change. Don't change, man. Wow. So yeah, I mean, this whole AI governance, I come from, I don't think we talked about this, but I have a risk and compliance background.
Hmm.
So, I'm all over it. So, as I just mentioned briefly, as far as from the city, we are really starting, I want to do this the right way, not just throw together an AI policy and say we're being progressive, right? Like, let's figure out a good framework or crosswalks of several frameworks. Um, haven't gotten too much into the ISO publication, but that's on my list. And also tailor, customize it, right? Just like you
Yeah.
would anything else. So I'm like super excited that there's so much out there already, that so many brilliant people like yourself have already really dived into it to blaze a pathway forward for organizations to do it the right way, right? I feel
Yeah.
like we need to learn from past mistakes that it's what is it? Measure twice, cut once kind of deal.
Hmm.
Especially when it comes to how we're adopting such a technology
Yeah.
and a tool, really that we don't know too much about. But I'm like super, super excited. What would you think? What do you see coming forward when it comes to AI guidance? Like, what do you see coming down the pike that may shift a little bit or may enhance what's already out there?
You mean in terms of governance or in terms of
Yeah.
just AI technology in general?
Either one. Anything exciting. Tell us something exciting, Rock.
Well, I mean, I think agentic AI is going to be a big deal, right? Like if last year was the year of Gen AI, this year is going to be the year of agentic AI for sure. And the capabilities that gives us is it gets us closer to that kind of human reasoning, how our brains work. So I think you're going to see more intelligent chatbots because we all love interacting with chatbots, but it'll be more intelligent. It will start to become more indistinguishable if you're actually interacting with a human or not. I mean, it's going to be super disruptive in like the call center industry. It's going to be super disruptive for developers because we're gonna see agents that can start writing code on their own in real time, right? And you've had large figures like Mark Zuckerberg come out and say, yeah, by the middle of next year, we're hoping to replace a bunch of developers, a bunch of like mid-level developers with AI. And so it's like one of those things of get on board or you will be left behind.
Yeah, I think the government, the new administration, whatever your views may be, they seem to be embracing that as well. And I think that's really exciting. I think that progression, innovation is incredibly important, and we can't afford to not adopt it across our business, whether it's public or private sector. So I'm really excited too. And thanks for bringing that up. So I got two more really important questions.
Yes.
The first one is for all my guests, and I can't wait to hear what you say, Rock. So I just like saying Rock. That's a dope name. Excuse me. That's a dope name, Rock.
Thank you.
So Rock, tell us what would you distinguished gentleman, Rock, tell younger up and coming Rock? What advice would you give him?
Oh, up and coming rock, huh? Um, God, that's a great question. I would have probably told him focus more on your health. Um, yeah, focus more on your health. I've made my journey very public on LinkedIn. I had a kidney transplant last year, but that was a culmination of decades of not taking care of myself, and that's what I would have told Rock. Thank God I'm doing great now. I've had no issues. I was very blessed. I had a relative who was a donor, but it was touch and go for a couple of years. And I don't want to get back there. And so young Rock is actually current Rock speaking to current Rock, right? Having learned on his past mistakes, right, and really trying to focus on that this year.
Right on. Amen. All of that. Can't stress health is wealth, right? And
Yeah,
all the things that we're doing in our career to be successful, we want to stick around for it, right?
exactly.
uh it's hard in this field though, and we'd be stressed. We'd be stressed. Um
I'm only
and that
27 years old.
yeah, I would. Yeah, man, you look great. I would have never guessed. Probably, being in Denver, get out in the
Yeah,
in the nature. I mean, I love Denver. It's great out there. I think it's like just the mindset. The energy's really different. Denver got a dope mayor. I went to AI conference there in September
Oh, were you there?
downtown. I was there. Were you
So was
there?
I.
Oh man, see, I knew it. I knew it. I felt you. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I went with my CIO. We brought back some great stuff to implement in the city. Actually, we got a personal invite, but that mayor there in Denver, Mayor Mike, he knows how to work it. He knows how to work it. So you're a good spot. Quantum computing hub that y'all just put
Yeah.
up. I mean, yeah, super, super cool. I hope to be able to make it again. If they put that on again this
Yeah, I
year,
think
that would
it'll
be
be a
really
neat little
great.
thing. I mean, just look at the turnout that we had this year.
It was
Right?
amazing.
Yeah.
For sure. So tell everybody how they can find you and about your book back there. I see it peeking out.
Thanks. Yeah. So the book is The CISO Evolution: Business Knowledge for Cybersecurity Executives. It's just that. Like, we've kind of bitched historically throughout our careers. Now, can't get a seat at the table. Like, the executive leadership doesn't respect us. They don't respect security, whatever. And what Matt Sharp, my co-author, and I really hope to do with the book is to be able to give security leaders the business knowledge and the business acumen they need to get that seat at the table, right? So if you're picking it up as a kind of a cybersecurity book, it's not the book for you. If you're picking it up to say, how do I translate cybersecurity into the business speak, and how do I align my cybersecurity program with the overall organizational objectives, then that's the book for you. And then you can find me on LinkedIn, Rock Lambros. I'm the only one there. I'm pretty easy to find in that regard.
Yeah, Rock Cyber. I like that.
www.rockcyber.com. Pretty easy. And that's why the company name's Rock Cyber, by the way. I was playing around with names and I was like, oh, that .com is available? I don't have to have a 27-letter domain name? That's how I landed on it.
Is your book on Audible too?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, because I got one credit that's burning a hole in my pocket. So it sounds really great. I'm gonna check that out. And then when I see you, you're gonna have to give me a signed copy
100%.
so I can be special.
100%.
So last thing, we're gonna end on 2 predictions. So this show isn't gonna air until the 10th, but 2 things are gonna happen, right? 2 things Rock and I agreed are gonna happen between now, this recording date, and the 10th when this rolls out. And that is, one, Rock's going to be on our one of our monthly live shows with Dustin Sash for AI governance. So you can check him out. By this time, you already have seen him. He'll be promoting this show. So that's definitely going to happen. The second thing is that Eagles are going to win their Super Bowl. Okay? Putting it down right now. Go Birds. All right? We got to speak that into existence. We got that, Rock?
Absolutely. I'm a Broncos fan, right? So, so by default, I'm the biggest Eagles fan on the planet for the next couple of weeks. But can you please get your mayor to spell Eagles?
Oh,
correctly?
I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to say anything. I was thinking I should do a joke right now. EGLES, Eagles. Yes, she messed that one up. But she makes fun of herself for it. So that's fun. Bad publicity is good publicity, right?
In that case, yeah. In that case, it's fine. It's harmless.
That's funny that it made it across the country, too. So, hey, what can we say? Philly different. We be different. Rock, this has been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'm really excited to run into you sometime this year. I'm feeling that, too. And keep up the good work, man. I'm like excited to be following you and hear about all the great stuff you're doing with those committees around AI governance and just all the things. It's exciting time. So thanks for all your work.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. Awesome. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Hope you got some gems from the one and only Rock Cyber in the house. He'll be back with us, I'm sure. Until next time, take care. Thank you for tuning in for this episode of the CISO Stories Podcast. Please subscribe to the CISO Stories Podcast and you will receive a new episode on the second Monday of each month.